Welcome to the Growth Gap podcast, where we turn stuck into unstoppable. I'm your host, Aslam Katri, entrepreneur, author, and your guide to bridging the gap between where you are and where you are meant to be. Let's dive in. What if I told you that this one mindset can change your entire life? You see, we all have hopes, dreams, aspirations, and we all have goals. And we all want to achieve them. But sometimes we're stuck in a place where we are, and we find it very difficult to get out of. I call that the growth gap. The growth gap occurs truly when we just get too busy with our day-to-day affairs. And we just don't have time to think back. So many people I speak to, they always say, well, I really don't have the time, even though I want to do this or I want to accomplish something else. So what do we do? And how do we get from point A to point B going upwards? And that becomes a big question for many people. So when you look at it and you see that what is required, many people will say that the first step, which means the 1,000-mile journey, starts with the first step. And I agree with that, and that's a wonderful idea. But I think there's another step that's more important than anything else. And that step is the intention itself. You see, from the early days of Stoics, who said it is the quality of what are you thinking is going to give you the quality of your life. When you look at Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, talks about the burning desire that comes into giving you the chance to start something, which is the intention. And then Bob Proctor really cleared it up in one line, which said that the intention is the seed of your own reality. So you see, intention becomes very, very important in anything that we want to do. Not by saying that I intend to do something, but rather it says, I want to do something, and that truly is the intention. Not that one day I will do it, not that someday it will happen. It is now I am doing it. And that is so important, and that is so powerful that we just keep on forgetting. You see, what happens is we get involved into our day-to-day situation. We all need to live. We all need to do things that just keep us busy. And then we forget what our true goals were, or what our true ambitions were, or what is our true calling. Then we just go into a loop, with a mindless loop, with just the body is working, with the body is very busy, but the mind is just not thinking. And this is where the intention comes in very, very strong. And this is where the intention is required for you to go forward in your life. I have always felt that keeping the intention, keeping that mindset of intention, whatever you want to do. I'll give you a small example. Even when you want to go and when you feel thirsty, you don't say to yourself that I am thirsty, I am going to go drink a glass of water. What you do is you basically get up and you go pick up that glass of water and quench your thirst. That is truly the intention. The intention is in your mind, which says, now we need to do this. So how do we develop that? What do we do? I mean, say, on one hand, it says it's all in our mind, but if our mind says, put it away till next time, then what is it that's required? You see, I have always believed that true intention is when we sit down and we promise to ourselves that we are going to do something. Now, it sounds very rudimentary because we all want to do that, but then we don't. And the question is why we don't do that. It's such a small thing. It is such a simple thing, and yet we continue to ignore it. Because we live in the times where everybody's so fast that you don't have time to even think about it. You see, we're always looking to compete. We're always looking to just keep on going, surviving. But one thing that we don't do is sit back and talk to ourselves. One thing we don't do is sit back and say, okay, what is that needs to be done? And that truly is what an intention is. You see, when you intend to do something, then the roads will open for you. Because this is when the deep desire that comes in, and it says, okay, I am doing this. Not that I will do it, not that one day I will get it done, but it is something that I'm going to do today. So one of the things that I have always talked about, one of the things that has worked with me is whatever your intentions are, write them down. And as Bob Proctor used to say, read them in the night before you go to sleep and read them in the morning after you get up. And that, going back from the days of the Stoics who say it's the quality of your thoughts. It is what that you're going to think of. And the only way you're going to think about it is if you remember, if you look at it, and if you keep on reminding yourself, and this is what you intend to do. That is what your goal is. And that once you start to do that, once you start to repeat that to yourself, it just becomes an easier thing. A lot of people say, I want to start a business, but I don't know what to do. And I've always said it. If you have that intention, if you start with an intention, say, I am starting a business, then automatically you will start seeing the opportunities. Automatically you will start seeing certain advancements that you thought did not exist. All of a sudden they come in. And we say all these Stoics, all these books by Napoleon Hill and all Bob Proctor's teachings, they're not for nothing. They're there to show us that how we can, with a simple mindset, accomplish anything that we wish to do. Anything. And so many of us just completely forget about it. So many of us are in a situation where we think it is something more magical. There's nothing more magical. It's as simple as just thinking. It's as simple as just writing down what your goals are. It's just simple as writing down what your desires are, what your aspirations are. And once you do that, all of a sudden your mind gets in tuned. You see, take for example, you go see a car. You want to buy a new car, you go see a dealership. When you get out, once you've decided the car that you're going to buy, once you get out of the dealership, you will notice the same car so many places. And you ask yourself a question, why am I noticing so many cars? Now, is that just a coincidence? Or are you just dreaming? No, because once you've seen that car, once you have made up that intention that you are going to buy the car, now your mind is in tune with that. So before even you take your delivery of that car, now you see that car everywhere. And that is what intention does. Once you put that intention in your mind, automatically the doors start opening. Doors are not opening for you. You are opening those doors. All of a sudden, you look at and you say, oh, there's a meetup. There's a bunch of business people who want to talk about something. All of a sudden, you see a commercial somewhere that's just triggers all of a sudden you see somebody calls you up and asking you about something, and you say, you know what, maybe I can do this myself. So what happens is, once you have taken that intention, once that intention is in your mind, everything opens up. Because your mind has opened up. And because your mind has opened up, you're going to start looking at all the possibilities. I'll give you an example of my own life. And it was it's as simple as that. I was starting my life. I was a young man. I just recently got married, and we had a child. Our child was about 12 to 15 months old, and we were living in a second floor apartment. The child was starting to walk, and as he was walking, he would fall down. Now that inconvenienced our neighbors downstairs. They didn't like it. They were older people, and they felt that was too much of a noise. So every time on a day he will fall down, they would basically take the broom and try to let us know that something that's annoying them. And well, I'll come home at night time and I'll talk about him, and my wife will tell me, and then all of a sudden, if I would be playing with him and he would fall down, or he'll drop a toy, and we would hear that noise. So finally I said, we're buying a house. Now we're just starting up. I was clerking at an accounting firm, did not have enough money, and my wife looked at me and she says, with what are you going to do this? And I said, we are buying a house. That was my intention. So off we went over the weekend, or a few days later, we went to see a very small house. Something that we could afford. In those days, $20,000 was a lot of money, but that's the smallest house that you could. It was a attached house, but it had its own 3 floors. And we said, this is something that we like very much. I went to see the manager who was writing up the mortgage, and he looked at me and he says, no, rejected me right off the bat. He said, no, you don't have the means to buy this house. Now that was a big blow, and yet my mind was made up. I am buying the house. I am buying a house. So it was still my mind, and yet my wife reminded me that, well, you see, I told you it would not work out. I said, never mind. I am buying a house. That was in my mind. I was like possessed with it. That I am buying a house, period. I'm buying a house for my child. So, next Thursday, when I got my paycheck, I went to my regular bank. As I walked into the bank, I see there's a sign which says, we give mortgages here. Apply for a mortgage. Now, that sign may have been before there, but this is the first time I noticed it. So the minute I noticed that sign, I said, that sign is for me. I walked up and I spoke to a young lady who was there at the counter, and I said, I am buying a house. Who should I speak to for a mortgage application? And a few minutes later, I'm sitting down with a gentleman who said, lucky you're here, because I am the district manager for mortgages for this whole district, and I just happen to be here for this week. Great. I gave him my information. He sat down. He went through my information. He telexed. In those days, there was no internet, and there was nothing. There was not even a fax in those days. So he telexed it. He telexed my credit score, and he returned. He got back, and he looked at me and he said, look, you can buy a house for up to $40,000. You can get a $36,000 mortgage. You'll have to give a 10% deposit down payment, which means that now you have to come up with $4,000. Now, $4,000 for me could have been $4 million. But I already felt so close to it Because from a complete no to now I have a possibility of buying a house, and it's no longer that I have to look for $20,000 or $40,000. I only need to look for $4,000. Automatically, I didn't know where I'm going to get that $4,000, but automatically I knew that that is unbelievable, that I am that close to it, and that's within 1 week. So I still don't have the money, and I don't know where to get the money. But I said, I am buying a house. So we left it with the bank manager at that time. He said, come by tomorrow, I'll give you a conditional offer, a letter of conditional acceptance of your mortgage, which was, to me, I had all of a sudden done such a hoop that I am already at a place that I can get my mortgage. I'm getting close to it. This is on Thursday when I got my check, when I went to deposit. Then Friday morning, to subsidize my income, I used to work on weekends and nights with another gentleman who was a trustee in bankruptcy. And I would gather all information from him on Friday. I'll work on the nights and the weekends, and then every Friday I go back and I would give him back the information. So here I am. I'm standing in front of this person, and I can see that he was a hardworking who had done well for himself. And it just right then and there, I just felt I'm there just to ask him for that $4,000. I just stood in front of him. He looked at me. Finally, he said, it was kind of a strange the way I was looking at him. He said, yes, Aslam, can I help you? And I just blurted out that, you see, I'm looking for a mortgage. I got a mortgage approval. I'm buying a house, and I need a $4,000. Folks, within 5 minutes, I had the check for $4,000 in my hands. And I felt it was a miracle. But it was the power of that intention that I had. Since I had that intention to buy the house, and since my intentions were pure, within 1 week, I was able, from 1 day, 7 days later, I was able to acquire a house. I was able I was in a position where I can go out and look for the homes and buy a house for my family. So you see, the power of intention is so strong. It is because once you put it in your own mind, once you put it that this is what you want to do, you automatically start opening those doors. Exactly the way I talked about the car. When you've seen that shiny car that you're going to buy now, you see that car everywhere. You want to buy a house? This is exactly what happened with me. My opportunities start to open up because, now, I'm not saying that every day, every time you're going to think of something and it's going to happen in 1 week. But once you put that thought into your mind, once your mindset is that I am going to do that, then the steps automatically come. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what's going to get you from point A to point B. Those are the gaps that you're looking for. And the only way you will do it, and going back to centuries ago, when the Stoics said as to what is in your mind, is the quality of your thoughts in your own mind is the quality of your lifestyle. It's the quality of yourself. Bob Proctor says, this is intentions are the seed. And they truly are. They are the seeds to our own reality. So whatever we intend, whatever we want, we intend. And the way to intend is truly, if you're looking for it, is to write down your intentions. Remind yourself of that intention before going to sleep. And remind yourself of that intention when you wake up in the morning. And you will see that it has miracles that can happen. So think about power of intention. We will continue to talk about other stuff, continue to talk about other things that help you get from point A to point B, to fill that gap that we talk about, the growth gap. But for today, think about this. Think about this powerful mindset as to how much it can help you. It is so simple. It is so simple that no other words can describe it. But other than to say that we need to do that. And once you do that, your dreams will come true. Thanks for tuning into the Growth Gap podcast. If you're serious about growing, don't just listen, apply. Subscribe, rate, and review. Share this with someone who's ready to level up. I'll catch you next week. Keep going. You got this.